Jaron Ennis says he is the number one welterweight in the world. Crawford and Spence are aging out. What's good, everybody? It's your boy Cardinal Red Sports. Let's talk about it. So, the homie Jaron Boots Ennis will be fighting this weekend. He gave an interview to Lance Pugmire recently, and he was asked about who is the number one welterweight in the world. And I think a lot of people feel like that spot is held by Errol the Truth Spence Jr. He holds 3 welterweight titles. I believe he has the best resume at welterweight so far when it comes to the new generation. And he commands the highest dollar amount in the welterweight division. He brings in the most eyeballs when it comes to pay-per-view. So I think a lot of people view Errol Spence as the number one welterweight in the world. But you have a guy on the come-up like Boots Ennis, an extremely young, extremely talented fighter, only 25 years of age. Errol Spence nearing his mid-30s. And I think most boxing fans view Ennis as the future of the division, while Errol Spence and Terence Crawford are kind of like last generation now. It's crazy to say that, being that I came up in the Pacquiao-Mayweather generation. It's almost crazy to think that a whole generation of boxing has passed since those guys already. And I think what went on in the world as far as the crisis and stuff had a lot to do with the last generation of fighters, other fighters from the Crawford-Spence era kind of getting overlooked, man, because I think boxing took a big hit with what was going on in the world, and a lot of people kind of tuned boxing out, and boxing's trying to make another comeback, a comeback within a comeback. They were already trying to make a comeback after, what Mayweather had done to the sport, but now that we're in another whole different generation, I think that boxing is trying to make a double comeback because of what happened with the crisis in the world. But when it comes to Errol Spence and Terence Crawford and Boots Ennis, who is the best welterweight out of those 3 names? And I think, that's an argument to be made. A lot of people will say, well, you're leaving Virgil out. What about Rashad Ellis? There's guys out there like Blair Cobbs. There's a bunch of up-and-comers. Keith Thurman's still out there. How could you place Boots on the top when he hasn't even faced the best competition at this point? And, that's slightly true, but the problem with that is you can't blame Boots at this point for competition levels. He can only fight who's willing to fight him. And if the best fighters aren't willing to fight him at this point, just yet, that should say a lot about Boots Ennis without even saying anything. That should just tell you a lot about Boots' talent level. In the sport of boxing, when you're avoided, when you're ducked, that pretty much says it all. That tells your talent level without even watching the fighter. Because they wouldn't be ducking you if you wasn't a problem. They wouldn't be ducking you if there wasn't a possibility of them losing to you. You know what's crazy about the welterweight division and Errol Spence and Terence Crawford in general is I keep hearing people say that Errol Spence and Terence Crawford are getting old, that they're too old for the welterweight division, that there are young lions coming up in the welterweight division, which is true. A lot of young names standing behind those 2 names, Crawford and Spence. But what's funny about people saying that those 2 guys are getting old is everybody who mentions the fact that they're in their mid-30s or above, Terence Crawford nearing 40, they keep bringing up the fact that they're going to move to 154. And I be reading these articles like, why do y'all keep saying they're old, but keep referring to the fact that they're going to move to 154? 154 comes with harder punches, bigger bodies, more knockouts, an even bigger chance that Terence Crawford or Errol Spence may get knocked out by one of the 154 fighters. So I don't understand people making an argument for Crawford and Spence being old when it comes to the welterweight division, but as soon as they say they're getting old, they mention 154 pounds like they're going to go up there and dominate. It's kind of funny when you think about it, man. Boxing reporters and analysts and commentators and YouTube channels. It's the funniest ish in the world, man, because everything comes with a what if. Nothing's a clear cut, it's this way or it's that way. It's never that. It's okay, these guys are old, but if they go up to 154, they're going to somehow dominate as old fighters, And it's funny because people think that an old Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. could go up to 154 and challenge a Charlo brother. But people don't think that an older Manny Pacquiao can come back to 147 where he dominated for at least a decade and not make a splash. It's almost insanity, man, when you think about boxing and boxing fans and the way that they shape things to fit their arguments. And if what you're saying doesn't fit their argument just a little bit, man, they'll try to bite your head off. Even though they know what they're arguing is nowhere near the truth or truthful or, even in the realm of reality. It's just how they feel at the moment, man. It's funny. But when it comes to Boots Ennis and his future at welterweight, I think if Boots is victorious this weekend and he gets that interim IBF title, it changes everything for Boots. I think at that point you're definitely going to see a lot more talk surrounding Boots, Errol Spence Jr., and you're going to hear the talk surrounding Crawford Spence die down a little bit, especially if Boots does it in spectacular form, knocks his opponent out and does it early, and then you're going to definitely hear Boots' name come up a lot more. Forget about Keith Thurman at this point. Keith Thurman, I think, threw his career away by not getting back in the ring immediately after Manny Pacquiao. If he really thought that the Pacquiao fight came with some shadiness, which he said he thought it came with some shadiness, or that he was hurt during that fight, he should have immediately tried to get a rematch with Pacquiao. And that could have been his comeback, that could have been his glory. Maybe Pacquiao would have given him a rematch, maybe he wouldn't have. But we all know that Pacquiao could have used the activity because that might have saved him from being stripped of his title. So, when it comes to the future of the welterweight division, I definitely think that Boots is the name that everybody's going to be calling out over the next year. I think Boots versus Spence is the next fight that we're most likely going to get. Spence Thurman just doesn't make sense at this point. If we can't get Spence Crawford as Spence's next fight, I would believe that it's going to be Spence Boots. I would hope that it's going to be Spence Boots. And if it ends up being Spence Thurman, I guess for all the people that are still out there wanting the Crawford-Spence fight, that should encourage you because Spence will be going right along with the game plan, basically, of taking Thurman as a tune-up and then going to fight Crawford next. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that down in the comment section below. Hit that like button for me, share, subscribe. Holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. More than likely to get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there. We are flying.
Big real, big block, big Chevy, big blade, big beat, big E, big money, big blade, big diamond, big wheels, big brains, big shine, big chain, big gold, big flow, big time.
Hey yo, I take a hit of the weed and contemplate how I'm about to make the whole city congregate. Where I'm from, constant hate is commonplace. See the look upon my face, my ganja's great. KD told me that he was down south and he heard about keys through word of mouth. Now that's the type of shit to let you know I'm on the grind. A lot of niggas like I bet he blow, it's about time. Be patient, I took a vacation and came back with something for the ones that was hating. You still see me blowed at the radio station, but if they don't play it, dog, ain't no complaining shit. I'm still knocking them, ain't no way you're stopping them. Chicks like cars, you with keys, you can hop in them. And you a true bitch, I stay off the brandy like you rich, trying to get a few
I got
chicks.
some niggas on my team, and my niggas is me. I got some bitches on my team, and my bitches is me. I got some niggas on the block, they ain't scared of the pop. I got some niggas in the hood, let me know what's up.